Throughout Season 5, we've seen a number of impressive episodes thus far. Whether from some great character moments, memorable music, fantastic bits of comedy, intriguing new ideas, or even some clever subtext, every new story thus far has given me something I can really appreciate and admire. So, is it wrong for me to say that Appleloosa's Most Wanted just doesn't measure up to any of the other Season 5 episodes we've seen as of yet? I don't know. Through my first viewing, it just didn't leave much of an impression on me. And even going back over it, I had to struggle to find much to say about it. But does that make it a bad episode? Not necessarily. It's just... well, let's start from the beginning. Applejack is visiting Appleloosa again, this time with the CMC in tow. And a fair bit of the first 2 minutes of this episode is spouting exposition.
Aren't you glad y'all came with me to see Applejack compete in the Appleloosa rodeo?
Whew, it's been a dog's age since I got to compete. All the rodeos around Ponyville have closed down for some reason.
Well, I guess having injured kinfolk in Appleloosa sure paid off then, huh, cuz?
Now, this isn't near enough to ruin any episode for me, it just tends to be a little distracting. I can really appreciate when an episode focuses more on show, don't tell, but we don't get that much of it here. I like seeing the return of both characters and a setting that we really haven't gotten that much of since Season 1. I know that Brayburn has been one of the fan favorite characters that a lot of us have been hoping to see again for quite some time. But did any of them do much to make the episode entertaining or memorable? There was some potential with Brayburn trying to take care of the CMC while Applejack was away, but aside from a rather cliche bit where he falls asleep after promising not to take his eyes off of them, there wasn't much point to having him in the story, which was also a bit distracting. What about this new character, Troubleshoots? I actually think there was quite a bit of potential here. A pony who's as big as a horse, living a life of despair and constantly putting himself down, all because he misinterpreted what his lot in life is supposed to be. And all he really needed was some pony else to believe in him. This is an interesting character and a good story idea. It's just the way the writers executed this idea seems like so many other stories we've seen before. There have been countless MLP episodes that have taken the cliche stories we've come across in other media and add some inventive new twists to keep it interesting. Here, though, there was barely anything I could really take away from this episode to make it memorable, which, yet again, is distracting. What about the comedy? Well, I'm sorry to say that I barely remember any of the jokes either. I was spending more time trying to figure out why the writers were making some of these choices than feeling entertained. How about the CMC? Surely with all the growth they've gone through over these past seasons, we get to see them maturing even further. Well, I guess they are, in part anyways. The fact that the CMC are teaching some pony else about how their cutie mark really does reflect one's true passion in life seems like a step in the right direction. I mean, wouldn't it be great to see the CMC's true purpose in life is to help others discover their own special talents? But then some of their mannerisms and even their dialogue seem much more like Season 1 or perhaps Season 2 CMC. The fact that they set off to find a dangerous criminal at night, even after promising not to wander off again, feels like the CMC are regressing to their old selves. And there wasn't near enough of a reason for them to act this short-sighted other than the plot needed them to. I will say that Sweetie Belle's hesitations, some little bits of her clumsiness, and even using more of her magic in this episode helped her to stand out some more. But then we have scenes where she's using her magic to fetch keys only to just get the sheriff to leave his post? What was the point of her magicking the keys away in the first place then? Throughout so much of this episode, I kept getting distracted by questions like this, and there wasn't nearly enough entertaining elements to draw me back in. So, does that mean Appleloosa's Most Wanted is a bad episode? I don't believe so. The point to this story was all about turning a weakness into a great strength, seeing your lot in life from a new point of view, and this episode accomplished what it set out to do. I can appreciate that aspect. They also showed that both Troubleshoes and the CMC still have to face the consequences of their actions. Even if the grief they caused wasn't intentional, I'm glad to see that a character like Troubleshoes is still willing to step up and make amends. Especially considering all the destruction that Rainbow caused during last week's episode, I'm glad that this story encourages its audience to take responsibility for your actions. These are good elements. And I can't really think of anything terrible about this episode. Its biggest crime is just that it's so forgettable. It barely left an impression. I'd say this kind of story would be a good fit for many of the other cartoon shows in modern media, but I guess I've just grown to expect more from MLP. I expect to take at least something away from every episode I watch. So when I actually have to struggle in order to find subjects to talk about in a review, I take that as a bad sign. In the end, would I say that this was worth watching? I suppose. Will I watch it again after I'm going back over Season 5? Probably not. If others can find something truly remarkable about this episode that I might have missed, I'd be more than willing to give it a second look. But for now, I'd say that this is the first entry in Season 5 that, while okay for what it is, just doesn't measure up to anything else we've seen thus far. In the meantime, though, I would like to hear your thoughts. What was your impression of this story idea? Can you think of any standout moments that made you laugh or think? Do you believe the CMC's ability to help others discover their true passion in life is a good direction for their characters? Would you like to see any of these characters make a return in future episodes? I would like to hear your thoughts on Appleloosa's Most Wanted, and here's hoping for more stories that go beyond our expectations in the future. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.
It's Troubleshoes.